Season 1 of The Family Man held a special place in my heart since I got to attend a screening of its first two episodes along with my ex colleague and the cast and crew of the show. I hailed it as one of the best web series to grace the small screen because of its expansive storytelling, intricate action set pieces, and mind blowing ensemble cast. And I was excited for season 2 not just because of the cliffhangers around Zoya and Milind's escape or Srikant and Suchi's relationship, but also because of the promise of something bigger and better directly from Manoj Bajpayee, Samantha Akkineni, Shreya Dhanvantari, and Sharif Hashmi. Is it though? Yes and no. Look, if you want a very binary answer, there are several reviews out there hailing how The Family Man season 2 is like the second coming of Christ or something. वैसे वैलिडेशन चाहिए तो वो जाके देख लो, पढ़ लो. इधर वो सब नहीं होने वाला है. इधर होने वाला है नुआंस. वो चाहिए तो देखते रहिए. और देख ही रहे हैं तो ये रिमाइंडर बड़े बड़े अक्षरों में अपने दिमाग में छाप लो that you should sit through the credits. Raj and DK are the creators, yes. Manoj, Samantha, Priyamani and Sharif are the faces of the show, yes. But there are so many people involved in the making of the show who deserve your attention and respect. तो उनके लिए क्रेडिट्स देख लो यार. उनको ट्विटर या इंस्टाग्राम पे फॉलो करते हो तो फोटो लेके टैग करके बताओ कि तुमने उसका नाम देखा है. अच्छा लगेगा. और पता है कि मेरे को क्या अच्छा लगेगा? अ लाइक, अ सब्सक्राइब, अ शेयर and a comment about your thoughts about the show or what do you think about my thoughts on the show. Okay, now let's start with the review. मेरा segments का order usually रहता है writing, direction और फिर acting. But for this I'm going to do things a little differently. I'm going to start with the stuff that I unequivocally liked and gradually get into the more problematic elements. I'm going to say this upfront. I didn't see a single stunt double in the entire show. Usually it is very noticeable, but I didn't see it. When Sharif Hashmi is face planting into gravel, it is Sharif Hashmi face planting into gravel. When Manoj Bajpayee is getting thrown around in a hut, it is Manoj Bajpayee getting thrown around in a hut. When Samantha Akkineni is absolutely annihilating dudes left, right and center, you guessed it, it is Samantha Akkineni annihilating dudes left, right and center. Same goes for the rest of the cast involved in the action-packed scenes. And that makes me think about the kind of training these people must have undergone to pull off these sequences. So, whenever Amazon Prime Video decides to release these behind-the-scenes sessions, do let me know. Coming to the non-actiony stuff, Samantha Akkineni is the star of the show. Yeah, I think she beat Manoj Bajpayee by a few inches. She brings so much angst, sadness and rage to the table through her almost rigid physicality and the strain in her voice. Given her character's past, it almost seems like she's raring to kill whoever is coming in her way, but she's using all the strength in her body to not do so. And it paints such a tragic image that you will find yourself rooting for Raji and her cause. The one proper scene that she has with Manoj Bajpayee is absolutely electric. If that scene was playing in a theatre, there would have been hoots and cheers. Personally speaking, there should have been more of that. Manoj Bajpayee gets to dive into Srikant's psyche a lot more than he did in season 1, for better or for worse. Some of his best scenes are of course with Sharif Hashmi, Priyamani and Vedant Sinha's Atharv. The to and fro between them are so natural that you will probably forget that you are even watching a show and have entered the lives of these people. But I will say this, I liked his silent, contemplative moments more than his expletive-filled quips. There are so many scenes where he wants to say something but he's not finding the right words. And since Manoj Bajpayee is so awesome, he fills those blanks with such a wide array of expressions. Because it's in those moments that you get to see who Srikant Tiwari actually is underneath the layers of patriotism, lies and heroism. Sunny Hinduja gets to flesh out Milind by diving into the trauma that his profession has inflicted upon him. Ashlesha Thakur has a bloody scene that she absolutely nailed, and I cannot wait to see where her character will go from here and how she is going to play it. Ravindra Vijay as Muthu and Devadarshini as Umail are great additions to the team, and their interactions with JK and the rest of the team were amazing, especially when they checked the attempts at cultural appropriation. Vime Gopi as Bhaskaran, Azagam Perumal as Deepan, Anand Sami as Selvarasan and Sri Krishna Dayal as Subbu are solid despite not having a lot of screen time. Asif Basra and Kaustubh Kumar have some great scenes with Manoj and Priyamani. Sharat Kelkar, Dilip Tahil, Vipin Sharma, Seema Biswas, and Darshan Kumar are underutilized. But since they are such great actors, they maintain the momentum of the show. Whenever I watch an action scene in a non Indian movie, the first thought that crosses my mind is what if this happened in India? Because unlike other countries, most of our cities are unplanned. So houses are weirdly placed, the lanes are not proper, and some of them are just made of pieces of rock. There are open sewers, there's no sense of hygiene, so people are spitting and throwing shit out of the windows. And that brings an added sense of fun and danger to the table, which you won't get to say anywhere else. Thankfully, the minds behind the family man understand that. Case in point, the chase sequence to catch Raji. It ebbs and flows so beautifully. It's confusing for the characters, but the precise placing of the cameras allows us, the viewers, to know more than the characters do. So you end up almost shouting at the screen telling Srikanth or JK to go in the correct direction. No? Just me? I'm fine with that. Well, while watching episode 6, I actually noted that it's probably one of the most action packed episodes that I've ever seen in Indian entertainment. Period. Because Raji's capture is followed up by an attack on the police station and it's made to look like a one take. Yes, there are two other one takes in the show, but this is the one that really stuck with me as I felt that it had a purpose. It shifts between characters we are familiar with instead of, following people who are like NPCs. The invisible cuts are almost seamless and it has one of the most hilarious line deliveries from Manoj Bajpayee. It happens right at the end of the scene. Srikanth saves Umail from Raji, whose hands are bound by the way, and punches the shit out of her. And Raji says to Srikanth that untie me if you are a man. To which Srikanth replies, "Mard बनने का कोई शौक नहीं है मुझे." It's such a great character moment. That said, the show isn't all action. It has its downtimes and the directors handle those moments with equal care. I can't talk about all of them because I'll end up spoiling something. The non-spoilery one that I can talk about is the conversation between Srikanth and Suchi. It's electric. As far as I can remember, they begin with over-the-shoulder shots, and the more they argue, the farther the camera gets from the characters. By the end of the argument, they are not even in the same frame. That's some good visual storytelling, and I 100% laud that. What I do not appreciate though is brown facing. Keep your arguments about the lighting and whatnot in your pocket, and how someone like Samantha had to be cast because of a fan following or some bullshit like that. Just put up a side by side picture of Samantha Akkineni and Raji and you will see the difference. If you had to showcase a dark skinned character, you should have hired a dark skinned actor. If the color of her skin has no bearing on the character, the show, or the story, then why was she made to look dark? In 2021, do I really have to talk about the kind of discrimination dark skinned people face in India, especially in the entertainment industry? Really? It takes back the whole movement against the preference towards fair skinned people by a few thousand steps. And for what? Like seriously, for what? Give me one good reason and I will remove this entire section from my review. It's a massive display of ignorance and I didn't expect it from the show and to be specific from Rajan DK. Let's get over the good stuff first. Unlike the first season, season 2 tries to dig deeper into the meaning of its plots. Like the exile of the Sri Lankan Tamils and how it's the result of a fascist government that is in cahoots with the Indian government that is scratching its back for some brownie points. Or like the repercussions of having a near-death experience at the end of season 1 and how Srikanth, Milind and Zoya feel guilty. And there's a decent line from Kulkarni who says that facing one's guilt is the price they have to pay for peace. Or Sajid saying that he and Srikanth aren't different because Srikanth is essentially a terrorist on the government's payroll. Or Milind asking if everything that they are doing in the name of national duty is worth it or not, and whether they are the good guys anymore or not. To which JK and Srikanth respond multiple times that it doesn't matter what their political opinions are or who is in the seat of the Prime Minister. They just have to do their duty because that's the job. To which I say I disagree, and I disagree hard. The biggest reason why I disagree is because saying that they are just doing their job washes away the sense of all law enforcement agencies. Nobody's a robot. Everybody has an opinion. And if you choose to be silent and oppress people because you're being paid to do so, then you are an oppressor. Fair and square. The hypocrisy in that statement or in the people who say stuff like this is that they believe that they aren't oppressors or that they can excuse themselves from a political argument. Being apolitical is also a political statement. And since being apolitical usually ends up helping oppressors, you have to accept the fact that you're choosing to be on the wrong side of history. Just say now that you enjoy violence, you enjoy killing people, and you enjoy oppressing people. What's the need to show that you are conflicted about it? What is the need for this mental gymnastics? So that you can switch allegiances without a guilty conscience and retain a job, right? Yeah, that might work for everyone else, but not for me. Now, since we are talking about politics, showing that the Prime Minister of a nation's life is at stake doesn't do it for me anymore. I don't feel any sense of tension or anxiety because I think that all politicians are the scum of the earth. 10 years ago, maybe this would have worked, but stop doing it now. I care about a movie or a show when the stakes are personal, like when JK's life is in danger or when Sri and Suchi's marriage is on the line. That's what makes a story tick. I don't give a rat's ass about a politician no matter how loudly they proclaim that they care about the nation and the people. Real life politics have burnt me too much to care about the fictional ones. Continuing on the topic of politics, the Tamils, the controversy. Yes, I'm not the biggest expert on that, so if it was up to me, I would have directed you to a reviewer who is an expert on the topic. If you want my not so educated opinion, I think it is pretty weak. They do show a connection between ISI and Sri Lankan Tamils, but the conclusion to this epic journey sucks ass. Again, I don't want to delve into too much detail. I'll just say that if you cared even a little about Raji, her final act will make you groan with disappointment. I want to reiterate that I'm not well versed in this area. I have a feeling that someone who knows more will find out to be more sucky than I did. Here's something that I do know about. Love jihad. A fictional theory pushed by right-wing propagandists to harass Muslims. Unless you are living under a rock, you will be aware of the fact that this propaganda has been pushed to such an extent that it has been turned into a law in Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh. The result? Many Muslims have been harassed and are still being harassed as you watch this video because upper class Hindus have a weird level of hatred towards Muslims. So why was it the secondary plot of the show? I don't know. In the last season, despite having Muslims as terrorists, the showrunners managed to show the plight of minorities in India. At least they showed that they weren't choosing sides. And from a storytelling perspective, it gave the feeling the events of the show weren't happening in a vacuum or in an India where minorities aren't harassed on a daily basis. In this season, those recreations of real events happening in the country are gone, and we are left with this love jihad subplot. And there's a big chance that it's going to define one of the characters going forward. Think about that. Just think about that. And while you're thinking, here's some more food for thought in connection to that season 3 teaser. A few days ago, a Punjabi YouTuber was booked for racial remarks against Arunachal Pradesh MLA Ninong Ering, causing more than 30 universities and student organizations from the Northeast to come together to organize a Twitter storm, demanding that the history and culture of Northeast be made a part of the NCRT. Meanwhile, the Family Man Season 2 decides to end on a note that will probably or definitely further the racial stereotypes that people hailing from the Northeast face. Oh, this show and its fans are going to become insufferable. Good action, good acting, great one takes, some good storytelling, but in my humble opinion, the negatives outweigh the positives by a mile. And since I am in the minority here, I have little to no hope that the showrunners will think about the regression that I fell out in this season and then correct it in some way or the other in the next one. But that's just me. What did you think about the Family Man Season 2? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? कमेंट्स में जाके बताओ प्लीज़. इफ़ यू लाइक माई रिव्यू तो वीडियो को लाइक और शेयर कर दो और सब्सक्राइब कर दो यार. और अगर नहीं अच्छा लगा तो बताओ बंधु क्या अच्छा नहीं लगा. एंड एज ऑलवेज स्टे हेल्दी एंड स्टे सेफ.